so
No,
bad.
it's good
I
to
dropped
be
out and you
raw.
failed a year.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am joined today by my brother and his flatmate. This is Daigan and this is Daniel. And we are going to be talking about our uni experiences and comparing them. We thought this would be really useful for you guys, so let's get into it. We're all going to be giving a 30-second summary of our uni journey. So, Daigan, you go first.
Hey, I'm Daigan. I'm a soon-to-be fourth-year student at the LSE, studying philosophy, politics and economics. I went to school, the same school as Maria for my secondary school. That was a comprehensive state school. I then switched to a grammar school for sixth form, and then after that I applied to LSE, and a bunch of other unis, got in and decided to study here.
And I'm Maria, you guys know that, and I study at Edinburgh, and I left high school, took a gap year because I didn't know what I wanted to study. Now I study politics and economic and social history. I've also taken German since I've been at uni, and I'm going into my third year, which I should be doing abroad.
Hi, I'm Daniel. I graduated from school in Dubai. I did the International Baccalaureate, and then I moved to Germany where I spent 1 year at university, and then I moved here to study geography at the LSE, and I am now in my second year.
Going to third year.
Going to third year.
So now you kind of know a little bit about us, our background, a lot to compare, and we're going to talk about, first of all, the living situation. So obviously I live in Edinburgh and these guys live in London. They're both capital cities, but one is a huge city with around 8 million and Edinburgh is 500,000. So yeah, let's just talk about our experiences in a huge city.
Do you want to begin and then we'll contrast London?
Yeah.
Just explain how it's different.
So when I came to Edinburgh, my first impressions were, this is not a capital city. It felt so tiny. However, after a while I realised it has everything I need. As a student, I think a smaller city is actually better. We have everything you could possibly need, but you don't have to jump on a tube. Everything is walking distance, which is really, really great.
Yeah, so I initially didn't want to come to London because I grew up in South London anyway. And so I wanted all the universities I applied to were outside of London apart from the LSE. But coming to London, I realised I really, really enjoyed it here. It's the sense of kind of anything that's going on in the UK. You're right in the hub in the mix of everything. You've also got all the other universities of London nearby, and so you can do mass events across universities. And yeah, I'll just say there's quite a lot going on in London. I've never really found myself bored, and I definitely haven't been overwhelmed, but I've really preferred the fact that I'm in such a big city.
Did you feel like London was too big for students? There's what? King's, UCL, Imperial, LSE, like 4 big competing unis. Are there even enough internship places?
There are never enough internship places. People say it's big, and I feel like it's just the fact where they come from. If you come from a big city, you're going to feel right at home here. If you come from a village, you're going to feel a bit overwhelmed. But I feel like when people say it's big, they mean there's no real sense of community.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel
and
like,
is that true?
More so in big cities than small ones, it's unavoidable.
But what about the uni community? Because obviously Edinburgh, I'd say we have a tight-knit community. You have your society, there's a huge sense of Edinburgh pride, I'd say. And we have also other unis, but they're a lot smaller. There's like Heriot, Watt, Napier, Edinburgh, Queen Margaret. What's it like in London? Are you all just like at each other's throats?
In terms of the pride thing, everyone at LSE is very proud of the fact they go to LSE. And you get a lot of that in the rivalry across London universities. There's a long-going rivalry between King's College. I wouldn't say we're rivals, more that we just clown on them, but they are also, it's always light-hearted. Like they stole our statue one time and we stole their stuff, and it goes back and forwards. But there's also quite a good community in that, like the Students' Union's quite good, there's societies for everything you want. You can really get involved in a huge wealth of things. For instance, I do dance and I was president of blockchain last year. So your interests are catered for. But I would say there's less of a community than maybe you have in Edinburgh. And that it's easier to get lost in London and you really have to search for what you want to find. So if you want to be in a society, you have to go and find that society. If you want to have a good social life, you have to go find the friends, find the clubs, find the things to do. It's a lot easier to get lost unless you put the effort in. And I think that's just a big city thing. Do
you guys feel like London feels like a student city, or it feels like a young workers city?
I think London caters for everyone.
Yeah, London feels like it's a good place for just about everybody.
So you mentioned like societies, but LSE's student satisfaction is apparently very low. That's just like an ongoing rumor. Can you guys debunk that?
I have a lot to say about that.
I have
Daniel,
a lot
do you wanna
to
start?
say.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah, sure. I feel like one of the biggest things that people assume, people also say that LSE is an unsociable uni is because it's in the city. And if you're on a campus uni, you're able to meet people, you're able to go out after classes, you're able to go out after lectures. It's much easier to make spontaneous plans, it's much easier to meet people. In the city, you really have to put an effort into it, and many people just come to lectures assuming it'll be like school, and they will talk to someone and they'll have a table and they'll meet friends, when in fact that's not the case. And especially in a big city and a very international uni like LSE, you really have to put in the effort. But if you do, it is totally worth it, and you will find a great community and great people.
Yeah, you pretty much took the words out of my mouth. It's 100% that.
Yeah.
A lot of people, especially international students, because we're 70% international, so we're very, very diverse here.
And we're 40, I think, at Edinburgh.
Yeah, and so LSE is probably the most international university in London. Don't quote me, but I think that's the case. And so because of that, people find there's a culture gap where they just come and they don't get involved, they don't get integrated. I think like 30 or 40% of people that come to uni get involved in societies. And so some people just avoid that completely and don't bother finding what they're interested in and getting involved. And if you don't make the effort to meet people in your course, in your apartment, in your societies, or in your halls because you live with them, you will have a very bad time because you're not so much at the campus of the uni, but you're just a student in London and you're lost because you're not making the effort to go and find things and find people that have similar interests.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I don't think that's that different from unis in general. I'd say Edinburgh, my experience has been pretty much identical with that. Uni is so different from high school. No one is there saying like, oh, like, what are you doing for lunch? Like, it's not really like that. It's like, you go in, you do your lecture, you do your seminar, your tutorial, and everyone wants to go home. There's no standing around chatting. So really you have to put yourself out there, I think.
I think, yeah, there is standing around chatting, there is like social aspects of it, but maybe like in other places. So in the library, or like in LSE, we have one library and it's massive. And so everyone chats and kind of uses that as a social place. You do have to make the effort, or you might find yourself a bit lonely. And that's probably why student satisfaction is low for us. But I've had a great time.
So how has it been as an international student in the UK? What were your experiences?
Well, I wouldn't really call it UK because I'm mainly in Zone 1.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I haven't. Being in London and being at the LSE especially is definitely not very English. It's very international. I like it a lot because I'm from a very international background, so I get along well with all the internationals.
I'm one of
here.
like the few Londoners.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I'm in a London uni.
However, many people at LSE will stick to their cliques, to their own nationalities. Not always, but it happens quite regularly. Happens in all unis, of course.
Yeah.
Most of the people that go here went to an international environment in the UK, or just come from overseas. So yeah, LSE is pretty great for that. And also, I've heard from quite a few friends that going to universities where predominantly English universities, if they are international, is quite difficult because they have to deal with the culture shock, and it's very hard for them to integrate into the English sort of university culture. It's kind of difficult because you have to be away from your family, and at least when I moved away from my family, I didn't think it was a very big deal. But once you're away for longer, you realize that it is, and you really have to have a network of friends to support you, because otherwise you will get extremely lonely.
For sure.
And
uni can be the loneliest time of your life.
Uni can be extremely lonely.
Or the most sociable.
If you have a good network of friends and if you have a good support network, you will be fine. Being alone in a big city is very daunting.
Yeah, and how often do you go home?
I haven't been home in a while. And I would also recommend, regardless if you're an international student or not, just don't go home in your first term.
Yeah,
I
said that in a previous video. Don't go home in semester 1. Just stay put.
Yeah, go out one more night a week. Find more people. Just don't go home.
So now let's talk about the social life. What's clubbing like in London? What is freshers like? Is it crazy expensive? Give us all the information.
We have all the information.
We do.
So London's obviously a big city, lots of clubs. In London and especially at LSE, people club a lot, especially in first year. In second and third year, I feel like it dies down a bit, but in first year, when everyone is in their halls, people would go out clubbing a lot.
How many times a week?
Normal people? Or
Like the average person.
I feel like 3 times a week in first term in Castle was normal.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
that was
Yeah.
I'd say that's
Wednesdays Wednesdays, Mondays, something.
Fridays.
Like Fridays, yeah.
Yeah.
That was typically how often we would go out. It's
What
very
about
good.
prices? Does it break the bank?
Depends, because if you go to typical London clubs, it will be quite expensive if it's a non-student night. But if you go to the student nights, they are usually cheaper.
Name
But-
some places.
Like Ministry of Sound on Tuesdays or XOY on Mondays. There's clubs that have student nights. And for those student nights, it's usually cheaper. The drinks maybe are like a £5 or whatever. It's still more expensive than other unis. So I know if you go to like Liverpool or something, it'll be very, very cheap. In London, you still have London prices, but they'll just make it a bit cheaper for students. And so you do have to watch out if you go clubbing. For us in first year, because we would go out so many times, like 3-4 times a week, you would just pre-drink very heavily, and then I would buy no drinks in the club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in second year, there's a lot more house parties, and it's not more like just
Yeah.
buying drinks from the supermarket and then having house parties, so you don't have to spend loads of money as well.
Yeah, very much the same in Edinburgh actually. I'd say when I came up, I didn't feel like Edinburgh prices were cheaper than London. A big part of societies is their socials. What if you're not wanting to go clubbing and you don't drink? What would you say for those people? Because I'm sure some people listening won't.
I've heard many people some people tend to have a hard time with that because they don't enjoy going out clubbing, and that way they're not able to participate in their halls or in the social activities as much. But there's also a lot of stuff to do if you don't enjoy partying and going out. Every society at LSE has, I think they have to, yeah.
They are encouraged to do socials that don't involve alcohol.
They're
Yeah,
very
we
encouraged to
have
do
that.
socials that don't involve alcohol.
Freshers
yeah.
Week changed this year, and they made it so that there's like a non-drinking stream of Freshers Week, and so they're really trying to focus on making it so that there are accessible events for all kinds of people, no matter where you're from or what your background is, and if you don't drink.
Apparently the non-alcoholic freshers events were the most popular this year. They got
Yeah.
the most
There you
positive
go.
feedback.
And also, like as most societies, there's no huge drinking culture. If you're in the AU, the Athletics Union, more so, people do tend to drink a lot more when they play sports.
Beware of that.
But in other societies, that's not always the case, and often it's not the case.
Okay, so it depends on which society.
Yeah,
That's quite
it does
interesting.
depend.
I never knew that.
Like I was in the committee for dance and for blockchain, and on blockchain I was the president.
Yeah.
And we had very few drinking socials, and if they were involving drinking, it was usually we had an event and there was wine at the event.
There are also societies such as the Geography Society who went to Bulgaria on a 4-day bender.
Yeah, so it depends.
Where do you
It
want
does
to be?
depend, right?
We got everything.
Yeah,
exactly.
so there's a mixture for sure. Same thing at Edinburgh. I'm agreeing with a lot of the stuff that they're saying because uni is very much like a uni bubble, and you'll have similar experiences wherever you are. So hopefully that's been helpful in a general sense. Let us know in the comments below if you enjoyed this video, what other videos you might want to see from us. Thanks for watching everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.